Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome and good evening, you wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8. Great. Is something wrong? He got me. That battler doesn't let anything get by him, does he? Erica grimaced and showed the piece of packing tape she had torn off to Lunar. At a glance, Lunar couldn't tell what had annoyed Erica. However, as soon as she held it, she realized the difference right away. This won't be any good. Yep, it's barely sticky at all. This won't reach even close to the red truth. Even packing tape can be of low quality, and it sometimes gets weaker with age. The tape Kumasao had found was a bit too weak even for normal use. It wasn't nearly sticky enough to be used as a detective seal. It is possible to tear it off cleanly. This cannot count as proof of a seal. I guess Battler isn't as total incompetent as I thought. Isn't as totally incompetent. He probably tampered with all the packing tape on the island using the authority of the Game Master. Letting Erica get her hands on packing tape gave her a fatal weapon to use against witches. The previous game had proven this fact, and so Battler had removed that weapon from the entire mansion. Most likely, all possible substitutes for packing tape have also been tampered with. Probably. Well, it isn't really so bad. At least this way, I won't have to look like a fool, crawling all over the outer wall in the cold rain. Erica tossed the packing tape aside carelessly and flopped spread-eagled onto the bed. Anyway, waiting calmly for the crime and smoking a pipe is also part of a detective's role. I doubt you'll have any role until the first twilight begins, so why not vanish off somewhere and take a break? I imagine that just the sight of my face is tiresome for you. I do not smoke. I am just a kid. Oh, really? I wish I could. Well, only if it really is as refreshing as smokers claim. It seems that you are not in high spirits. Does it look that way? Erica answered lazily, still looking up at the ceiling. That in itself was half an answer. The silence between the two was filled by the sound of the wind and the rain. It was so quiet that the sound of the ticking clock rang out clearly. Lady Erica, may I ask a question? Depends on what it is. Answer's probably no, though. Well, we're just killing time anyway. What is it? Maybe Erica was bored too, or perhaps the sound of the rain was making her sentimental. She agreed to listen to Lunar, which was very unlike her. Why? Why do you hate magic? Ah, you mean that thing downstairs with Maria. It was merely a foolish trick to deceive children. Everyone knew that. Was it really necessary to go so far to destroy that illusion? I cannot understand. Erica didn't need Lunar to tell her that it had been a childish fight. Well, I am a self-proclaimed intellectual rapist. I can't stand having magic confuse the truth. So you feel pleasure from exposing that? I sense a different emotion. A different emotion? What's that? To me, it feels less like pleasure and more like a different, negative emotion. Ah, you really are a murder doll, aren't you? Even your eyes are like knotholes. My apologies. Please forgive me. Erica rolled over grumpily, turning her back to Lunar, so Lunar couldn't see her expression. Even so, for some reason she could guess that this completely unobserved expression was one of pain. Interpreting this to mean that Erica wanted her to go away, Lunar gave a bow and made to leave. Then Erica suddenly spoke. The words seemed so utterly out of place that Lunar doubted her ears, and she had to ask Erica to say it again. What did you say? I love you. It really did seem utterly out of place. Lunar wanted to see what Erica really meant, but the latter still had her back turned and her face was out of sight. Thank you very much. I was going out with someone else a while back, but we've completely broken up. The others might say things out of envy, but please ignore them. I'm going to devote my whole life to you, so I want you to do the same for me. Let's find happiness together. Delanor avoided asking what she was talking about and stood there in silence. For a while, Erica kept on dully and emotionlessly repeating soppy phrases that might have popped up in some shoujo manga. Then, unexpectedly, she once again followed up with a complete non sequitur. A new wallet. Of course, she had no idea what Erica was saying. However, with her back still to Delanor, Erica kept on saying disconnected words. A strange cat keychain. A type of cologne that didn't suit him. A music tape that's not his style, which he said he borrowed from a senior at the theater. His senior was asking, so he had to go. He suddenly got a new part-time job. He said he was talking with a friend on the phone who just wouldn't hang up. Maybe too much curry. Went to the theater practice more often. The way he folds paper towels. Thanks, I've already eaten. He knew more about cosmetics. Sorry, I was sleeping. The toilet seat was left down. He spent the night over at his stage friend's place. My acting friends had a party here earlier. Someone must have left it behind. The drain and sink were cleaned out. Receipts and point cards from places he never goes. The muddy soles are evidence that you went out on Sunday when it was raining. That matches the strange symbol on the calendar. None of your theater friends have hair this long. That's a leading question. How do you know the plot of a movie you haven't seen? Evidence, circumstantial evidence, observation, surveillance, tracking, tailing, information gathering, wiretapping, asking around, questioning. I found tons of evidence that I loved you. I found tons of evidence that you loved me. But I can't find any evidence that you haven't been cheating on me. Did you murder this person? Give it a rest. If you love me, then trust me. If you can't do that, then you don't love me anymore. How could I love someone like that? I'll treasure you for... That's a lot of text really fast. For all my life. And I want to do well in theater just as much. You said you liked seeing me act, right? So why are you telling me to stop acting now? Why do I have to choose between you and acting? What's wrong with you? I'm seriously worn out, okay? Come on. If all we do is fight when we see each other, maybe we both need some time to cool off, okay? I need to concentrate for next performance anyway. This girl working with Senpai suddenly said she wouldn't be able to perform. I need to rewrite the script. By tomorrow, I don't have time for this. Did you stab the person there? Why is there blood? And anyway, if you really find it that hard to trust me, we're through. Stay away. Go home, bitch. I don't love you anymore. Don't cry, damn it. It's disgusting. Just die. Stop shouting, damn it. You're annoying the neighborhood. Just get the hell away from me and never come back. What is happening? Without love, it cannot be seen. Huh. That's backwards. Because of love, you end up seeing things that don't even exist. It's nothing more than an illusion, one that no one but you can see, and one that even you can never touch. Without love, humans would never need to sift through truth and lies. Because we can see things like that, we doubt, we suffer, we cry out loud. Right now, I'm happy. Though it may be temporary, I've become the Witch of Truth. As I am now, I no longer need to worry about being tormented by non-read words. What about you? How would you have countered my endgame? How would I? That useless man couldn't have played the part of my opponent in that game. I was wondering how you would have countered it. Delanor was suddenly thrust into the position of Erica's opponent, in which the witch's game she had once challenged that man to. Delanor shared in the fragments of Erica's past and was made to grasp the full situation. The board was reproduced in full inside their heads. The situation was one-sided. Erica's side had constructed a blue truth based on the countless bits of circumstantial evidence, had turned all of those into pieces, and was already cornering the opponent. For some time, Delanor thought in silence and announced her by-the-book response. First move, I demand that you provide evidence that I have been cheating. Counter with the blue truth. I present 84 points of circumstantial and physical evidence. Counter with the blue truth. I present 6 points of circumstantial and physical evidence that I still love you. Good. Blue and blue cancel each other out, but the number of pieces used to construct each is overwhelmingly unbalanced. When both opponents meet with the blue truth, the decision is almost always based on which side has more pieces of evidence regardless of the actual circumstances. This is especially true in the human world, so by the standard rules, Erica would win. First point to me, your next move. I will attempt to switch offense and defense. I ask that you, Lady Erica, provide proof that you are not cheating. Perpetual check. That's a forbidden move since it'd result in an endless repetition of the same question going both ways. Then I frankly declare that despite a lack of proof, I still love Lady Erica even now. That's not red truth, so it's invalid. Even if it was red, that'd be a stalemate. After all, I'd have no move to counter with. Delanor remained silent for a while, then she quietly responded to Erica's moves until they reached checkmate. A stalemate is a forbidden move in the game of witches, since it means the ruin of the game. However, in chess it also represents a draw. Because of this, it's a splendid final move that a weaker player can pull off if they're unable to win outright. In this situation, Erica clearly had the advantage, so it was natural that Delanor would seek a stalemate to obtain a tie. However, that would only be the case in chess. In the game where the witches fight over the truth, it's a forbidden move, so it was already checkmate from the very beginning. Delanor had no way to turn the game around. However, regardless of what the real truth between the pair of them had been, this game would be any other moves, or witch hunting archbishop, protector of the truth. No, I resign. See, there you go, humph. Erica had succeeded in crushing her opponent with the truth she espoused, that her former boyfriend no longer loved her and was cheating on her. Her opponent had no way to argue back. After all, humans are not allowed to something. A splendid game, a splendid finish from a superior position. Regardless of the truth of her opponent, Erica could win. A splendid victory. Delanor could only respond with silence, and with that Erica spoke no more. She was probably done talking and wanted Delanor to leave. Delanor understood this, but even so, before leaving, she wanted to tell Erica one thing. A splendid game, Lady Erica. It's only natural that the detective wins. Even before you became Lady Burncastell's piece, you truly were a splendid wielder of the blue truth. However, Lady Erica, humans are only allowed to use the blue truth, and the only thing that can counter blue truth is red truth, and humans are not allowed to use red truth. In that case, how should your opponent have shown his truth? Who knows? Maybe he should have used that gold truth or whatever, which is supposed to be stronger than the red truth at times. You certainly were the victor in that game. However, allow me to say this as a protector of the truth. What? I imagine it's something unpleasant, so say it and go away. Yes. This game is your victory. However, you still have not denied the 6 points of blue truth evidence I used to claim that I still love you. Even you are human. You cannot use red truth to deny those points. Later on, I used the detective's authority to have all 84 points transformed into red truth by the power of my master. I am human, yet superior to humans, a detective and a witch. I am the Witch of Truth, Ferudo Erica. Any other questions, parting remarks? I have none. In that case, please excuse me. Delanor bowed and disappeared. After that, all that remained was a single Witch of Truth laughing off a bitter past with an equally bitter smile. Judging by the bedside clock, it was almost exactly 24 o'clock, midnight. Okay, guess I should get a little sleep. The curtain has finally opened on the second day, October 5th. I wonder if this round's murders are happening somewhere about now. I hope our victims leave us some interesting dying messages this time. Hehehehe. Why didn't you discuss this with your mother? This is about the partner who's supposed to support you throughout the rest of your life. That's right. She's the woman I want to spend the rest of my life with. And that's why you need to choose very carefully, right? How can you be so rash? Ava and George could be seen beneath the eaves of the guest house. George had revealed his engagement with Shannon. Ava's anger had exploded almost instantly. This had been no more than George had expected, so he had responded with an ice-cold calm. Did you sleep with her? She told you she was pregnant to force you into a marriage, didn't she? How rude. I am a strong believer in preserving chastity before marriage. Then why an engagement? I asked her. She accepted. What more could be needed? No, it's all wrong. Marriage isn't as easy as it seems in manga or whatever you're thinking of. What about her parents? Relationships between the two families. Are you some stray alley cat, or are you an Ushiromiya George? How could you be so rash when you might even be selected as grandfather's successor? Why didn't you consult me? I'm consulting you right now. No, not consulting. I'm just reporting. I've never counted on being selected as grandfather's successor. In fact, I'd rather refuse if it did come to that. I want to build up my own country and castle from the empty wilds, just like father did. Now, listen here. Do you realize how hard your father has worked to get here? That's not something you could just duplicate just by imitating him. Do you understand how often he was saved by luck and coincidence before now? And he got through it because he had a wonderful life partner by his side, you. Sayo is the kind of person who will support me and make me be reborn as an even stronger man. You've praised me for becoming the adult I am, but that could have never happened without her. What? Are you listening? George, just let your mother handle this for now. Cool your head and think very carefully. Shannon isn't the only person interested in you, right? Ayumi-san from that marriage meeting really took a liking to you. Did we ever meet this person? First, I've heard of it. I thought you knew. Her parents were also very impressed by you. If you really dreamed to build your own castle like your father, Ayumi-san is the one who'd really be able to help you, right? Do you intend to betray her feelings? There's nothing to betray. There was never any special relationship between Ayumi-san and me. We just had a marriage meeting and our parents got all fired up afterwards. You made us go out together several times, but we never even looked at each other. Ayumi-san is a well-bred, modest woman, isn't she? She just couldn't look at you because you're a man, and it would be embarrassing and ill-mannered. If you can't feel anything from her unless she looks at your eyes, then just tell her that. I'm sure she'll look at you in the future. You want me to marry Ayumi-san because it will benefit you. You aren't pushing that engagement for the sake of anyone but yourself. George! You know, I feel like the emotions displayed by this face and this face are different. One seems much more shocked and much more scared. How can you say that? Have I ever failed to think about what's best for you? I haven't, have I? What is a parent's job? It's to look after the long-term welfare of the children, right? We've been looking down upon your entire future from a great height. And from our vantage point, we can see that you're letting your momentary youthful emotions lead you down the wrong path. That's why I'm saying this, even though I know you'll hate me for it. If I didn't care for you, we wouldn't be having this fight. I'd just tell you to marry whatever strange girl you like and leave you be. You hear me, George? Leave this to your mother. There's no need for you to meet with Shannon-chan anymore. We'll take care of everything for you. Don't worry, we won't do anything bad to Shannon-chan. After all, it's thanks to her that you've grown so much. We won't forget that. So leave the rest to us, George. Sometime during Ava's rage, tears had started to drip from her eyes. As though those tears had caused him to hesitate, George turned his back and sagged his shoulders. Even George is a child of man, after all. Though he understands that marriage requires nothing more than the love of two people, he can't get over his desire for his parents' acceptance, and so he is trapped between the tears of the mother who has always helped him and the fiancée he chose. Or is he? Okay, I think that's about enough. Huh? All my life, you've done a great job raising me, and I'm grateful for that. When I have children and become a parent, I'll become a parent like you. I'll be the kind of parent most worthy of respect in the entire world, one who can truly fight for his children's sake. George? With his back still towards her, George threw away his umbrella and slowly stepped out from beneath the eaves into the rain. Then he slowly turned around. It was, without a doubt, the familiar face of Ava's beloved son. However, he was now his own man, self-controlled and independent enough that their blood connection might be forgotten. I think it's about time. For what? I think it's about time you learned to let go of your son, Mother. From now on, let's stop talking as mother and son. I am George. You are Ava. Let's forget that you're my parent and let our true intentions ring clear. The reason you want to choose the person I marry is for financial reasons, public appearances, and so that you can look good in that continuing quarrel between you and your siblings. You have no other reason. You'd do well to just give up and admit it now. I'm about to share my point of view with you. I suggest you do the same. After all, you will lose. No traces of love or respect for his mother remained in George's eyes. There was only a frigid glare as he gazed ruthlessly down at the witch who was trying to bind his future. George, why are you looking at your mother like that? Because I'm not looking at my mother. All I see is a wall, a trial, that's standing in the way of the future I'm trying to grasp. You're only human. I know that you have dreams and ambitions, and that you're still chasing after those, and I think that's a wonderful thing. We also know how hard it is for a person to chase their dreams without giving up. So I'll need to inherit your wonderful strength. I've learned a lot from my parents, my friends, and Saya. I've grown. And the last thing I've learned, acquired, and perfected is the real Ushiromiya George. Now I'll overcome the final barrier. You. What? Ava had disappeared. The pouring rain landed evenly across the ground everywhere. No, it was blocked very slightly in one place. However, there was no one there. Standing on the ground isn't the only way to block the path of the rain. Then, could it be? Sure, it's good for people to let their true feelings show every once in a while. I'll speak my mind, too. So, why don't you just lay it all out as well? Ah-ha-ha. In the rain-filled sky, with a moon that shouldn't have been visible behind her, was the golden witch of the future who had finally obtained everything of the Ushiromiya family. Even the drastic change in his mother's appearance didn't faze George. On the contrary, he seemed to be moved by her boldness, because his mother had honestly and truly displayed her true nature. This way I can confidently show her my true self. Here we go, Mother. Here we go, Ava. This is my first step towards escaping from your shackles. First step? Well, with that first step, he felt something odd beneath his feet. He knew that this sticky sensation, different from mud, represented his mother's arrogance trying to prevent him from making that first step. I used to read to you all the time when you were little, didn't I? Do you remember your favorite story, Journey to the West? That takes me back. That's probably the first fantasy I really loved. Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, wanted to become a god and was tested by Buddha. If you can jump free from the palm of my hand, I will acknowledge your wish. Then Sun Wukong managed to reach what he thought was the end of the world and found 5 pillars standing there, only to discover that they were Buddha's fingers and that he still hadn't left Buddha's hand. And you're likening this to my first step, me declaring my intention to break free from you. Heh. Your resistance, your conflict, your anguish, and self-restraint, and everything else, all of it is a road I once traveled down. This first step of yours is so trivial that when compared to my life, it'd just get gobbled up. How long are you gonna look away? If only you'd just look at your feet. At George's feet on the pitch-black earth, soaked by the pounding rain, was what appeared to be a slightly red sash that glowed ominously and blocked George's first step. It was deep, viscous, and it held George's foot in place. From Ava's perspective, as she gazed down from the sky, it looked like a vast red spiderweb that radiated out with George at the center. That's right. This is me. This is me being tied down by countless studies and raised for the sake of your ambitions. No, that's not it. Let me put it so that you can understand. I'll show you, and then you'll realize the truth. Ah ha ha. The vast red spiderweb on the ground scooped up George as easily as scooping scum out of a pot. Then it lifted him into the air like a deer caught in the net and swung him about. Laughing insanely, Ava was as innocent and cruel as a grade schooler happily swinging about a bag filled with her new gym clothes. Gagwa! Giggle, giggle. Come on, try to remember, okay? What happened on Tuesdays? Gya, gu. I remember. That was piano lessons. I still cringe whenever I hear I stepped on the cat. You did violin in kindergarten. That's the sort of instrument you'd expect smart kids to play. Right, but you didn't seem to have the talent, so we switched you over to piano. Then, do you remember what you did on Wednesdays? I remember that was the day I had cram school. It was so far away and a real pain to have to travel to. And Thursdays, ha ha ha. Why are we getting Five Nights at Freddy'd? We're having a discussion. Why is Freddy Fazbear bitten me? Why is the bite of Evis 87 occurring? It's still 1986. That was the day for supplemental lessons. You were just terrible at subjects with memorization, weren't you? You could apply your knowledge, but were horrible at learning by rote. A classic he can do it if he tries, kid. That one stung. Those are the most annoying words a kid can hear at a parent-teacher conference. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. That's a British aphorism, isn't it? Making you get and stay motivated was the hardest thing to do. Gah. George was bound hand and foot by the bright red spiderweb, reduced to the witch's plaything. She innocently swung him around and smashed him about, all with an insane laugh, again and again. Do you remember what you did on Fridays? Of course. As far as after-school lessons go, that one was pretty unique. A school you go to with your parents can be trying in more ways than one. Don't buy your child a fishing rod. Go fishing with him. You certainly like British education theory, don't you, Mother? Well, that school was hard on us parents too, but for you it was the most effective one. The monthly fee was high, and it was a pain to have to spend Friday nights there every week, but it did more for you than anything else. That's when I realized kids don't grow unless their parents watch over them. If children are sprouts, then parents are the sun. No plants will bud, and no flowers will bloom without the sun. Still bound hand and foot, George was thrown, slammed, and smashed. He could do nothing. He was still like Sun Wukong, unable to leave the palm of his mother's hand. However, since he wouldn't surrender, he could still show resistance at any time. And what about Saturdays, huh? That's when the tutor came. He came to our house, which made it much easier, right? It was a pain having to invite some other person into my own private room every week. I hated the smell of sweet leaf. What is that, a fucking Black Sabbath song? Sweet Leaf? Sweet, left behind when he left. So much that I can still remember it. He was a wonderful teacher who drilled a scholarly attitude into you. His monthly fees were on par with a lawyer's consultation fee, and it was well worth it. Then on the Sundays and Mondays that followed, I didn't have any extra school and could finally rest. How ironic. Have those extra classes from Tuesday until Saturday held me down all this time? I really am just like Sun Wukong. Cackle. Yeah, if you're arrogant enough to think that you can escape from the palm of my hand, you'll be crushed by Buddha's 5 mountains. Sun Wukong, who wanted to become a god, was crushed by the 5 mountains of fire, water, wood, metal, and earth, and sealed away. These are the 5 elements that the days of the week, Tuesday through Saturday, are named after in Japanese. Only now did George, who had always admired Sun Wukong, recognize this greatest of ironies. Just like Sun Wukong, you need to reflect upon and be punished for your arrogance. If you can show that you're willing to reform yourself, I'll release you. That's not being released, it's brainwashing. Ugh. There's no need to think about anything. Why not just leave everything to Mama? I'll decide everything for you. That's the best kind of life for you. I've found the most intellectual woman in the world, willing to devote herself to you entirely. I'll arrange for all of your successes. I'd even prepare the roads leading to them. I can't see people through all the text. Where was I? And eventually you will be chosen for the highest honor in the Ushiromiya family, the position as successor to the headship. Only then will you begin your true life. A first step. Don't make me laugh. You still haven't even been born yet. This isn't my web that you're caught in. You're still inside my caring, nurturing womb. George was slammed against the ground, over and over. It was a heartless atrocity, unlike anything one would expect a blood-related son to receive. However, in Ava's eyes, perhaps even this was a sign of love for her precious son. The human-shaped lump of flesh, wrapped in the red bag that was slammed over and over, then thrown high into the air, where it was caught in a massive spiderweb in the sky, still covered with fresh blood. While he hung there as though crucified, George didn't even twitch. Even if he'd had some power to resist remaining to him, the red web pinning him there would have held him even that in check. The rain, which had been falling non-stop since the beginning, quietly tormented and pitied George. Be sealed by the 5 mountains and cool your head. I'm not telling you to stop because I think Shannon Chan's a bad kid, okay? She's a great girl, the one who gave you the chance you needed to grow up. However, an ill-considered engagement is a different matter entirely. The issue has nothing to do with some failing on her part. Understand that. Blame the problem, not the peer, right? That's another British saying. I really did raise you to be a smart kid. No, I am raising you. You're still inside me, right? You need to be nurtured a little longer. Okay, that's enough punishment, so apologize to your mother. The spiderweb released George reluctantly. Then it threw him to the ground beneath the cloudy sky. Thank you, Mother. It was all George could do to get up on his hands and knees. Though he wiped the mud away and stood his ground, he still couldn't raise his head. Everything you've done so far, you've done for me, haven't you? Thank you. Thanks for everything. That's right. You must hate me now, but one day you'll thank me. I'm sure you'll understand how much I loved you. Being bound by all those extra classes from Tuesday until Saturday, that's a sign of how hard you worked to raise me to be an excellent man. That's another British phrase. To cover a child in blessings is the greatest education of all. Thank you. In return, I'll give you a British saying. What's that? Even if you strike all the trees in the forest once with an axe, you will not fell a single tree. And what does that mean? Maybe this one is clearer. To spend too much time in studies is sloth. Francis Bacon. The man drenched in mud and blood straightened his crooked glasses and slowly stood up. Though he was covered in filth, his appearance had a divine quality to it, something that could only appear on a self-controlled man, not one who had been merely dozing in his mother's amniotic fluid. I cannot count the number of things I've learned from Sayo. She taught me courage and chivalry, and how to be ambitious and witty and humorous, and just a little stylish. It's ironic. Almost all the things you say are so wonderful about me didn't come from you at all. George, are you still? Time to get back in Mother's womb. I'll nurture you in a sea of warmth once more. As Ava howled, a bright red spiderweb appeared at George's feet once more and tried to scoop him up into the air again. However, at that instant, a powerful magic circle could be seen in the area surrounding George. For just a moment faster than he could be scooped up by the spiderweb, George jumped, and with a sharp kick of the heel and magnificent forward flip, he cut the shackles of that spiderweb apart. What? That smooth movement proved that he had possessed the power to escape from those shackles all along. He had willingly allowed himself to be bound by that web. Everything I owe you for what you've done, I've paid back now with pain. Thanks to that, I think I'll finally be able to leave the nest for good. You really do need these every now and then, fights between parents and kids. George, why must you disobey me so completely? And with a little girl like that, it looks like you really do need to let go, Mother. Maybe it's about time. Time for what? It's about time. Time to start fighting back. The curtain of spiderwebs that Ava shot out in defense were all too slow. George weaved through them in one instant, and the next he was right before her eyes. Ah. Ava jumped out of the way of a kick that would have knocked her feet out from under her, then blocked the second half of George's double roundhouse with a high kick of her own. I guess there's one thing I can thank you for teaching me. Oh, and what day of the week was that? It's the martial arts training we focused on during long breaks from school. Ha. I'm glad, George, to hear you're grateful for at least one thing. Your mother is happy. Kia-ha. Ava's swift feet flashed like lightning. Low, 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 mid-level attack. As George's head fell forward, she caught it in both hands as though she was about to smash it against the ground. It was then met with Ava's knee as it rose like a bolt of lightning from the earth. You should have learned Muay Thai, too. It would have been more fun to have learned it with you. You're right. I never had more fun than when I was learning martial arts with you. Then right now is when we get to have the most fun. Isn't it fun, George? Isn't it? Is it fun to play with your son like this, Mother? Yes, it is. You're my precious son, and I'll love you lots and lots inside my womb. I even love it when you kick in there. Understood, but this kick's coming from outside of your belly. George's knee buried itself into Ava's abdomen. An instant before she felt the pain of that fierce attack, Ava watched her son's kick with a proud smile, and then vomited. Gwa. Blah. You're getting on in years, Mother. Maybe it's about time you held back on wearing childish clothes like that. George! Her chin still covered in vomit, Ava looked up at George in twisted anguish. She could see how pathetic her face was by her reflection in his glasses. Both you and I need to leave our childhood days behind. So long, Mother. The fierce lightning and rain made time freeze. George's beautiful kick had stopped an inch from Ava's chest. However, the power of that red magic circle surrounding George had already pierced Ava's body. Though he had stopped without hitting her, blood poured out of Ava's back. No wound had been left on her chest, but her heart had been punched through. Ava slumped backwards and landed in a puddle with a splash. There were no convulsions. Her life had been ended without leaving her even an instant to writhe about in pain. I know you're somewhere over there, Gape. As he straightened his glasses, George spoke to the rose thicket behind him. Then a pitch-black hole opened in the air over there, and Gape jumped out. Impressive, even considering that it was before her ascension. I can't believe you managed to defeat Ava, Beatrice. I thought you'd be there. Thanks for not interfering. I'm glad we were able to keep it between mother and son. But of course, I wasn't here. You summoned me just now. It doesn't matter either way. Either way, I have something to ask of you. Is there any reason I should listen? Will you refuse to listen? With his back still facing her, George reset his glasses. The threat in his voice held the solemn presence of a king who could control demons. That presence made Gape gulp, and she licked her lips before bowing respectfully to his back. I like hot guys, but I like monarchs even more. Your wish is my command, O Demon King. I want you to lay her body to rest in a place fitting for a woman who admired the head of the Ushiromiya family and who lived her life with the misguided dreams of that position. So, in Kinzo's study? No. The VIP room will do fine. That never-opened VIP room on the second floor of the mansion. Ah, that room. As you wish, your majesty. Gape approached Ava's corpse and lightly tapped on the ground with her right heel. When she did, a large hole opened up, swallowed both Gape and the corpse, and closed. After a while, a small hole opened up in the air, and the staff Ava always carried, marked with the one-winged eagle that symbolized the Ushiromiya family's leader, was spat out into a puddle, because the corpse would no longer have any use for it. George slowly approached that staff and stepped down hard on the tip. When he did, the staff spun violently into the air, and after passing by the blue moon that honored the Demon King, it flew into George's outstretched hand. The instant he grasped it, another fierce lightning bolt landed nearby. And by the time the flash disappeared, the staff he held had become a spray of gold butterflies and vanished. It was as though George had crushed the staff out of existence. And now I've finished my part. I'll let someone else have a turn. I can't believe you attacked your own mother. It's the person who loves you first in this world, and the last one you have to separate yourself from. That's what it means to leave your home. This is the courage I need to show to take Sayo as my wife. George-sama? Ellipses. Bravo, Ushiromiya George. An excellent start. Even though it was just within the game, even though it was just a piece, I didn't like having to kill my mother. However, that was the trial you set me, so I saw through it. He stared at the two demons. The demons looked at each other, then showed their surprise with their now familiar, exaggerated gestures. Wonderful. Wonderful! Wasn't that splendid, Zepa? Indeed it was, Fufu. George-kun's determination is the real deal. It seems I've misjudged you. Please, accept my apologies. George chose not to go along with this theatrical conversation. He just quietly looked down upon the game board and found the piece representing his mother, which was right next to his, and tipped it over. This was the trial that Zepa and Fufu had set for him, so that the love of the pair will stand true. Offer up the life of one person by your own hands. It was similar to that trial during Beato's games, where they were given 3 options as part of a test to select the next family head. However, a pair of lovers will never abandon each other's lives, so they were automatically left with the option of sacrificing the life of another instead. In fact, it was merciful that they only had to choose the life of one person other than themselves instead of all, and besides, it was only meant taking those lives as pieces on the board. For the versions of themselves to whom the game board was the only world, this was a tragic parricide. But to those who stood around the game board in this witch's smoking room, it was nothing more than a movement of the pieces representing George's will to overcome his parents. However, the fact remained that the demons had ordered them to take these lives. Even if it was just within one of the endless fragment worlds, George appeared to have distanced himself from the events on the demon's game board, but Jessica still seemed to resist the idea of stealing another person's life, even if it was only their life as a piece on the game board. Have you been scared stiff? No. The Beatrice that Battler-san desires would not be shaken by the likes of this. Well then, who will undergo the next trial? Please choose the next victim. It doesn't matter who. Please name the next challenger. Any one of you may go. Do all 5 of them have to do it? If no one speaks up, that means I win, doesn't it? Yes, that's right. If so, congratulations, Ushiromiya George. The key that leads to successful love between you and the one you cherish. We will now proudly hold it right there. As the demons delightedly named George as the victor, they were interrupted by the next challenger. Jessica-san? I'm up next. Okay, I'll do it. I'll show you that I'm serious about Canon-kun. As usual, this year's family conference was getting bogged down. Everyone had decided to cool their heads for a moment, and a short break had been agreed upon. The four siblings could say whatever they wanted, but Natsui and Kairi, for example, were outsiders and found it difficult to speak freely in this sort of atmosphere. A conference where you aren't allowed to say what you want can be tiring even as you just sit there quietly. Even Kairi couldn't help letting out a deep sigh.